Like, I think for me, I spent so much of my life just in complete skepticism
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like, how the fuck do you start this?
Mm-hmm.
How do you start this?
I'm actually asking.
Please help.
No idea, to be honest. Well, okay. Maybe we can tell like roughly the how like things happen for us until we got to the point where we're like, maybe I need God a little
Okay, all
bit.
right. Sure. Do you want to start?
No, you can start. I'm joking. I can start
Wow.
totally.
No pressure. Hot seat.
um. Well, I'm like my parents, but I'm not baptized. First of all, because my parents want us to have the freedom of choosing our religion if we wanted to choose one eventually. But I remember once my mom told me like it's good to pray before you go to bed. You know, just like have this moment of like praying,
Is she like
thanking for
Catholic or anything?
things.
She
We're
religious?
all raised Catholic, but not really Catholic.
I
You know,
see.
I think culturally yes,
Hmm.
but not like religiously.
Like in practice.
Yeah. Um and I was like, okay, so then I prayed a little bit for a while, but never really something that I did like connecting with God or connecting with whatever, you know. It's never something that I really searched for. But when I started learning about philosophy and religion when I was in high school, I think I started questioning a lot of stuff, you know, just like really wanting to understand the thoughts behind faith, I guess. Then I was like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Like, there's a lot of controversies and things that kind of match between one religion and the other. So why would I choose one as right? Like, it doesn't really make sense. But then I think I got to a point where like, why not? Like, why not connect with this ability that I have to feel spiritually elevated? It's not about God or believing in God, but it's more about like connecting with the soft part of my soul and being a little bit more in touch with it. So I think that's my story.
Wow. That's her story. No, I think that's a great story. And I relate to some degree.
Hmm.
I also think, like, for me, the concept of God is, I heard it, I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard it recently and I like the way she said it. She said, God doesn't have to be like a spiritual religious God.
Hmm.
God can literally be the unknown.
Hmm.
Your relationship with spirituality and God can literally just be a relationship with what we don't know. So, what happens after death, where we come from, why be moral in a world full of indifference, right?
Hmm.
Like, we can kind of understand that the universe is in a silent, indifferent entity, it feels like, right?
Uh-huh.
So, your relationship with God and your relationship with spirituality is really your interpretation of all these things,
Hmm.
as opposed to like sitting down and conversing with something you think is 100% real and trying to like get it to do things for you. I don't know about you, but that's not my relationship with God.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, so I was raised extremely atheist. Like, my grandpa was vehemently against the belief in God.
Hmm.
He told me the belief in God is what makes people weak, it's what makes people impressionable, it's what leads to their manipulation. So, no, there's no such thing as someone in the sky watching everything you do. But at the same time, he was a mystical man. Oh, bless you.
This allergy.
Yeah. He was just like he believed in a higher power, but
Hmm.
it was never to be mentioned. It was always like he was so vehemently against God that even he's alive. I'm speaking like he's not, but he's okay.
To this day, he still do not believe in God.
Yes. I mean, now maybe if I met him, he would maybe he does have a relationship with the divine. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, for me personally, it came to understanding that there's tons of things that my skeptic brain was shutting down and not appreciating and not wondering about. And this process of learning to appreciate life and appreciate my relationship with the unknown
Mm-hmm.
and feel that I am protected in some way or that I'm fulfilling something is just a part of being human. So whether or not that's a real thing that's happening, I'm okay with worshiping.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I think I have kind of like a similar feeling, and it's weird because sometimes it's almost like I believe, but I don't believe in God. You know, like I think it's more like I don't believe in God, but I feel there's something, you know?
Mm.
Like I have a relationship with something that is above everything, but I don't really believe in this figure called God per
Mm.
se, you know? And I really understand her grandfather. I think for me, um, I don't think it's really God that makes people weak. And I'm not saying that, I don't know. I think the way that faith can be made out of a instrument can lead to, you know, taking power out of people. But I don't know, I think we lose a lot when we just reduce the relationship with the unknown and reduce the relationship of with our spirituality as a political phenomenon
Yeah.
or just simply that, you know. I think it's good to question things and have a critical relationship with your faith because it can be also delusional sometimes. But
In that case, the Lulu is not the Salulu.
it sounds like a podcast for kids.
I know, I don't know where that saying came from, but it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Remember, children, the Lulu is not always the Salulu.
But I think it's good to have something, you know. To deny it completely is almost like denying a part of yourself that is inevitable. I really don't believe there's like a person that really have zero relationship with the unknown, zero relationship with the unexplainable. You know, you can be the amount of atheists that would be scared of ghosts, bitch.
That's
You
so
know,
true, yeah.
pick a side. If you don't believe in it, like, why are you so scared? Why are you running? Chill. Chill here in the dark in the cemetery, you know.
Yeah,
It has
honestly.
nothing to be afraid of.
I feel like atheists, their perception, and because I was an atheist, I know this,
Mm-hmm.
and it might have just been my side, but what I found within myself is you look around, and this is always the first argument, is why would he cause so much suffering? Very valid question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's interesting because when people ask that question, it shows that their idea of this creator that they're criticizing
Mm-hmm.
is not accurate because no one's out here thinking well, maybe some people, but I'm not out here thinking someone created the planet and then they put every single thing perfectly and now they're watching over it and they're creating suffering to see if we're going to come out of it. I think it's you have to consider the concept that maybe all the suffering is for nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
then what? If there's absolutely no reason for any of the suffering,
Yeah.
are you just going to accept that and try to suppress the need to find deeper meaning? That's suppressing a part of being human.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if you made peace with the fact that, yeah, like suffering could just be useless, or it could be a doorway to personal expansion? It could be an understanding of contrast. It could be
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the duality of this physical dimension.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. That's just what I think.
Yeah, I get that. And I don't know, like that's the thing. Like nobody's gonna ever have the answer for all this. It's literally like okay.
Yeah.
You can, and that's the part of the faith comes along, you know, like you have like if you believe in something, faith is a feeling that holds all of this, I think, complex of ideas and philosophies hold everything together, you know. so that you can make sense of a lot of things that happen around. I just really find it funny, some tales, about the universe and how things happened. And I don't know, like I really think it's very interesting in a perspective of storytelling, but it's kind of hard for me to believe that people actually believe these things. You know, I don't know, not judging, but I'm just curious.
I'm curious too. How do you look at like
Yeah, like how does the brain,
justify it?
yeah, like how, like what it, like I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. But I think the exercise of wondering and the exercise of, like, it's almost poetic, and I think that what it's good from it, like to have this indirect knowledge in these tales that have meaning, that really tell the story, that helps you symbolically learn from life, or learn from the beauty of the universe, and I think that's the interesting thing. And I don't really feel that putting yourself in a moment of like, let me believe in this for a second, let me experience the sensation of really feeling that that's how things happen, like that's the truth. It teaches something, and kind of almost expands your soul somehow. But you don't really need to be like, okay, I know the truth, that's the only truth. Like, maybe you don't. But
Yeah,
it doesn't really mean that the experience you have with it is not real, Like,
100%.
you can create a real relationship with it. But to say that that's the only answer to this doubt that everybody has about life and existence, chill. It's not all this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's what you said about um I completely lost my train of thought. But what you said about like it being a oh, no, no, no. Okay. Yeah, considering for a second that you could potentially believe in this thing and actually consider it. Like considering the feeling that you might get from whatever all this is if
Mm-hmm.
you allowed it. The first time I had that feeling was when I read this book called 40 Rules of Love, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just about like Sufism, which is like a pure form of Islam. And like people back then that actually believed in the heart of what Islam is about, they were essentially kind of like monks.
Mm-hmm.
And it just talks about love, like being and embodying love and what that means. And that was the feeling that got me to spirituality.
Uh-huh.
Because I was like, okay, true. Like if you love instead of fear, if you decide today that your limited perspective of the world is limited, you don't know anything, and
Mm-hmm.
that anything is possible,
Mm-hmm.
why fear? You know, you can embody love, you can attract all the things that love could bring to you, and you can treat people with that same level of love and forgiveness that you can assume the universe sees you as. And
Yeah.
it just makes you a more appreciative, grateful, and
Mm-hmm.
able to learn. I don't know, at least for me, it revolutionized the way I
Yeah,
learn.
yeah, totally. And to be honest, I really feel like I felt this, I think, a couple weeks ago, that it was like, maybe I need to settle a little bit with all the philosophy that I've been learning for like years and years and years of reading philosophy, and just like let it settle a little bit inside of me, just like
Mm.
feel a little bit, just because what is the harm? We're all struggling anyways. Nobody knows the right answer. But if you have an idea that kind of gives you hope and gives you comfort in how to create a better relationship with life, even if it is like not creating such high expectations about everything, or just like loving unconditionally, or just like searching for love in everything, if that helps you be happier, if it helps you live a better life, what is the harm? Um, and honestly, it's something that I kind of feel that I miss, to have like a guidance that makes sense to me. And I really understand why people feel like this. Like, why does it make so much sense to have something that tells you come this way that you're gonna find happiness, come this way that you're gonna find fulfillment. It's gonna like stop suffering and something like this. Because yeah, like if something would help, and I think there's many answers for that issue, and it's not necessarily just a beautiful, sweet, smooth path, but if it helps, you know. And I
Yeah.
really think philosophy, and I see many religious scopes as philosophy. It's mostly philosophy. It's mostly ideas that speak to the mind and speak to the heart and speak to the soul and try to make sense of everything, because philosophy is pretty much that. Um, when you see from that perspective and try to learn from it, as it would try to learn from anybody, that thinks and sit down to meditate about reality, you can learn a lot from it. And I really think that's really, really valid.
100%. Like, I don't even think it's a matter of what it helping. I think it goes like this. People are afraid of falling into an ideology that is going to lead to their oppression and suppression of society and the people. Very real fear, because empires have historically used religion to suppress people.
Mm-hmm.
But in that chase, we're actually, this is where Nietzsche's book. Oh my God, I want to talk about this a lot. He talks about how in Thus Spake Zarathustra, he talks about this man that comes down from monkhood into, like, you read it, into down from the mountains to help the people. And a lot of what he says is basically like, you have disowned your own humanity. The man wants to be like the best version or God so bad that he has completely decided to go past reality. He wants to disown his body, his earthly needs. He wants to disown his earthly desires. But it's literally your earthly needs, and who you are is you living. Like, it's your experience as a human. You're not meant to be like uncontrollable, or like, you could be like with mental clarity.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still going to have pain points. You're going to have, like, people can feed you ideas. It doesn't have to be religion. So that fear of like being afraid of getting your free will taken away, and that's why you're not going towards God, I think is detrimental. Because if you were to think about these deeper concepts of the universe, if you were to explore your internal landscape, you would see how wondrous this life is and how little you know about it. It's actually about humility instead of like comfort or making things easier. It's a path that makes you more humble, and I think sometimes it's harder.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. I don't remember the philosopher, but it was ancient. It was from a long, long time ago. That he came to the conclusion that nobody can actually be free because they always have their basic needs and they have to provide for those needs, like eating, sleeping, having a roof, protection of their body, protection of the, I don't know, health. So, yeah, like this is the condition. This is the base condition of everybody. And I really enjoy one thought that a lady was saying. I think it was in a podcast, but I really saw a short clip of it. And she was saying, well, imagine if you were from somewhere else, like a different planet, a different reality, and somebody said to you're gonna go to this place. You can go to this place, like it's opportunity. You're gonna feel everything. You're gonna cry. You're gonna suffer, but at the same time, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna experience everything. You're gonna touch everything. You're gonna, just literally have a moment of fruition of this experience. Would you like to go? And her was like, when you think about that, like,
100%.
yes, like, of course. What? I'm gonna never say no to the adventure. This that can be, this. And I think one thing that kind of gets in the way of us enjoying life is the fact that we are so mortified by the truth of death, like death being such a huge problem. And when it comes in conflict with the ego, I think it creates such destructive behaviors, like we want the ego to survive so bad that thinking about the end of life, it's unbearable.
Yeah.
And then we like get rebellious about this and do a bunch of bad things and bad choices and create bad systems for everybody, when it's simply, when you I think when you feel elevated and when you feel in connection with your soul and in connection with the universe and with the, you know unit of existence itself, you don't really need to be so attached to your ego that much. And I think that one of the things that really spirituality helps me with, like, it's this light experience, it's this like breath of moment, and it is that easy. It is so simple when you think about it, but at the same time, oh my god, it's such a big deal, I guess.
No, that's very like very, very good points. And I think the funniest part about that is when you kind of do get into spirituality, you don't fear death, not because you think that there's going to be something waiting for you, but just because you are so overwhelmed with the beauty of simply existing that death is
Yeah,
just a part of it.
it's almost like it's a good thing that life is such a brief moment, because if
Yeah,
it was forever, what's the point?
yeah.
What is the point? I remember once, I think I was in university already, and this French bakery opened in our town. It was so good. It was so freaking good. The baker was actually French. He was married to this Brazilian woman, and they opened the bakery together. Um, and he had this chocolate croissant that was like, oh my god, girl, you have no idea. Insane, insane. And it was like freaking expensive because he wanted to do like very good quality product, and he had to import a lot of like the flour that he was using, like a bunch of stuff that it wasn't really easy to find around. So it was really, really expensive. And also because he could charge that much because it was absolutely amazing. But we would go in the weekends to buy this pain au chocolat, this chocolate.
Chocolate bread croissant.
Yeah, it's not croissant. It's like a bread, like chocolate bread, But it's a croissant. It's the same. It's the same dough.
Yeah.
Different format, but same thing. And I remember I would eat my croissant. It would be like a moment, like I would have the perfect coffee. I would have like everything around. I'd be like, so good. But always I would want more because it was so amazing. And it was just like a tiny little croissant. And I was like, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that I have like this only one. And I feel that I wish for more, because next time when I have it, it's gonna be so special. It's gonna feel so good. And if I had like infinite amount of pain au chocolat, I would probably be sick of it and never want to have it anymore. So I guess that's the same thing for life, like you have bits of every phase of your life. Sometimes it feels forever, but when you think about it, it's not. And then if you had too much of it, if it was like eternity, like you're living forever, what is the point? What is actually the point? And hopefully, like, it's a good thing to realize that earlier than
Later in
not,
life.
like you're 90, almost dying, and you're like, oh my god, I should have a better relationship with life before. But like, too late, sorry.
Bye.
Bye. Time to check out.
Next time.
Yes.
When you get back up there, just get back down here.
But it's almost poetic,
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that. Me and my partner were having a conversation last night about how long dogs live. And he was like, if you think about it, the amount of time that the dog lives is perfect. Like they live like 12, 13 years. But he's like, what else could a dog want? They want to play, they want to have connections, they want to pack, and they want to hunt. Like in 12 years, you can do a lot of that.
Yeah,
And then I was
totally.
like, a butterfly, really all it's gonna do is just fly around, sniff some flowers. So it makes sense it only lives for a day. Why would you want to live longer? And I think like,
True. I never thought about that, but it makes absolutely total sense.
right? So it's like, not that everything's like divinely perfect,
Yeah, of course.
but it's like our experiences correlate in a very strange way to the amount of time we're given, the what we're given.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways it could totally be evolution, but that idea of potentially looking out into space and projecting love,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even if it's human, I don't care. I want it. And when I was an atheist, that was some of the, like, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but for me personally, that was some of the unhealthiest years of my life because the philosophy was, what's it gonna matter? And there's no love here. There's only
Mm-hmm.
cold, hard, um, materialistic, psychopathic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But now, now that I found God,
She's a believer.
through my ponderings, I realized that it's not so dark and gloomy out there. Like there's so much love in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of shut ourselves off to that magic and amazing parts of existence when we try to so hard be above human, be more knowledgeable than human. You know, try, like, I'm not saying science is bad, but like, why does that have to replace your personal relationship with the unknown?
Yeah, it doesn't really.
And the
It
most
really
brilliant
doesn't.
scientists, it hasn't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like one thing serve each purpose. It doesn't really need to be like one thing needs to be the answer for all. And I think that's the I don't know the competitive way things been happening for a long, long time in humanity. That makes absolutely no sense to me. But what you gonna do? Um,
We gotta have a episode about the system.
Jesus Christ, please no! I don't want to go through this. It's gonna be so stressful and heated.
Between you and I don't
No,
know.
between myself and the reality of things.
Well, if we're accepting that God is all, like, if we're, it's fine.
Let's have a meditation before it starts. So then we can think about God before being pissed off about everything else.
Self-love and a little bit of denial. To some degree, there has to be some kind of denial, because I'm not saying denial of reality, because it's so hard to deny like
yeah, it's
you can't lie
impossible.
to
You're
yourself.
always gonna bump into reality
Yeah.
somehow.
Exactly. I think it's even like, and it's not like we're like saying Christ is going to come save us, so it's not like we're that far from reality.
Mm-hmm.
But not to insult the people that feel that way, but I
Disclaimer:
don't think
we're not judging anybody.
I personally don't think that's gonna happen, but you do. It's just a matter of like understanding that even though reality is messed up and there's so many different powers at play, that it's like you have power, you have,
Yeah,
you are a creator, and that's so like, be like, the self is such a huge part of spirituality.
mm-hmm.
Seeing yourself in everything is a part of spirituality.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I think, the battle between connection and ego, because biologically it was supposed to mature to a certain point, procreate, and die, within our part. But I don't know, like, the specifics of it. I don't think anybody would know. But eventually we became conscious, and I guess this longing for surviveness and just like making the species survive through time, it kind of reflects in the ego a little bit, It's almost like it's personal. Like it's not about the species surviving, it's about like me being eternal.
Totally.
And that's why I think sometimes connecting with bigger self can often means leaving your ego a little bit behind and just like use a consciousness to connect with things, but not necessarily to be God itself, be the center of the universe itself. Just okay, chill, it's fine.
Yeah. yeah, like it's not in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it was in your hands, you're not in the position right now to for it to be in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, you're it's not up for you to decide. What's up for you to decide is what kind of life you're gonna have with what you're given,
Mm-hmm. Totally.
and take complete responsibility for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both the religious and the atheistic perspective forfeit that responsibility a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally.
For atheists, it's like, okay, yeah, well, the world just it's a dog eat dog world.
Mm-hmm.
It's cold hard facts, cold science. So I'm just an animal. Why would I change anything?
Yeah.
And for religious people, it's like, okay, well, you're going to hell, and Jesus is going to come save me. So
Yeah.
both of those are not the full truth, right? Like it can't be. If you're in resistance to something to that degree,
Yeah.
it cannot be reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a lot of work to believe and to not believe at the same time, you know. I think connection, it's fluid. It happens by experience mostly. It's not something you really decide, you know. It's like maybe searching for it is an active path, but it's by experience, you know. And I don't know. I think is like how much you lose from your human experience when you're so disconnected, or committing your connection to a certain degree that is castrating in a way. You know, like only believe if it's that way, that only specific way. Like, you know, what else is out there?
Yeah.
And why also be so like pissed off about things in a way that just prevents yourself from having a genuine experience.
Yeah, just love yourself. If you love your
But for some reason, the thing that got in my mind when you said "live yourself" is the video of a guy that he's like in the street with the cardboard, something written in it. He's like, "Love yourself." He's like dancing around. Express yourself. I don't know exactly what he says, but hey, love yourself. I think is one of the things.
I'm a
It's
few
like a
like
meme.
I'm a few spiritual awakenings away from being that guy. I can feel him resonating in my bones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think we covered. It was short and sweet, but that's all I need to say.
Yeah.